I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Today we're reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 2. So let's focus on verses 23 through 25. And the man said, "This one at last is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This one will be called woman, for she was taken from man. This is why a man leaves his father and mother and bonds with his wife, and they become one flesh. Both the man and his wife were naked, and yet they felt no shame." Once again, Genesis chapter 2, verses 23 through 25. Several years ago, I was sitting in a movie theater in Memphis, Tennessee, when I heard Tom Cruise utter those fateful words to Renee Zellweger, "You complete me." And it also seemed so sweet. It was the perfect movie moment. Nobody saw it coming. But in the months to follow, you heard everyone from football players, waiters, cab drivers, even grandmothers repeating the phrase. Removed from its proper setting, the phrase really lost its romantic inclinations and started to be used sarcastically. One plumber says to an electrician, "You complete me." Well, as far back as the Garden of Eden, it was apparent to both God and to Adam that mankind is not meant to be alone. And even a sinless man, as Adam was at that time, cannot, apart from divine intervention, find enduring communion with God. In short, man needed woman in order for his life to be complete. And even God knew that. Even the word mankind tells us that Adam was a creature, just like all the other creatures, of a certain kind. So, after parading all of the animals past Adam, God made him a creature of his own kind, one that actually came from his own flesh. Important to note is that God could have made Adam another dude, right? Hey, here's another dude for you to hang out with, a guy who shares his passions for sports and shoot 'em up movies. But in his wisdom, the Lord didn't make Adam another guy to hang out with. The Lord made a woman for Adam. The Lord instituted marriage to be between a man and a woman. And nowhere in Scripture does he indicate otherwise. So there we have it, man and woman, a perfect God-made match. But where does that leave God in terms of personal relationship and communion with his human creations? You see, the creature could never elevate itself to the level of the Creator. So the only way for communion to actually happen between the two is for the Creator to, number one, condescend, which means to come down to the level of the creature. Or he must elevate the creature to his level. Now, in both instances, true communion with God can only be found in the God-man, Jesus. You see, made greater than the animals and a little lower than the angels, mankind has always been the object of God's affection. He loves us. Redemption and adoption through the Messiah, Jesus, is God's solution to our inability to commune with Him. In the flesh, man is incomplete without woman. She restores to him what is missing in his flesh. So the gravity which draws men and women together is so strong that both will leave their families just to attach themselves to each other. In the flesh, man and woman complete each other. Rib restored to body to bring wholeness, as it were. So, what about soul and spirit? Only the Messiah's atonement and imputed righteousness. What does that mean? Righteousness taken from his account and put into our bankrupt accounts. Only his atonement, covering our sin, and his imputed righteousness makes us whole spiritually. So perhaps that's why the Bible calls Jesus the groom, and followers of Jesus, collectively the church, is called the bride. And only he can complete what mankind lacks spiritually. So even before the fall of man, being complete in the flesh was not enough for true spiritual wholeness. And that tells us that there was grace in the garden even before there was sin. I'm Steve Wiggins, and this is the Groundworks Ministries podcast. Check us out at groundworksministries.com.